Another week of training camp practice is over as the Washington Commanders get ready for their preseason showdown, and it's an afternoon start against the Detroit Lions in Michigan. The big word of the day is just the amount of injuries that this team's dealing with, and at one point before practice started, off on the side of the auxiliary field, which is normally designated for players who are working their way back from injury, you saw K'Lavon Chasen out with a knee brace. You saw Jeremy McNichols. You saw Marcus Mariota with the knee brace. You saw Tim Settle out there, as well as Rachaad White. So a lot of veteran mainstay players that they're counting on for them this season were off on that auxiliary field. Now, I will preface this by saying I wouldn't worry too much because a lot of these guys, they're chomping at the bit to get out on the field, and those are the exact words by Dan Quinn today before practice when we spoke with him in his press conference.
He not for this game, but he's certainly close. He was injured on the last play of the Miami joint practice, his last play. So we're just being smart, as we're kind of talking about like soft tissue injuries, to not expose that thing to it's stronger, everything's strong. So we're just being smart. He is 100% chomping at the bit to get going right now. He's a player who's available. He's smart, and so he's literally trying to get back on the field is without anybody knowing. So I love that about him, but he won't go for this game.
Now, I did ask Coach Quinn as far as Trey Amos, the second-year player that this team has high hopes for to potentially become a lockdown number one corner. He's been nursing multiple injuries, but Dan Quinn said that he's rehabbing well.
Coach, is there an update on Trey at all? Trey
Amos, yeah, yes. For sure. He's, I would say, improving, with his ankle sprain, so it was on a similar side, or not a similar side. It was on the similar side that he had the procedure, so having an ankle sprain, obviously, got mad into that spot. But I would say the arrow is trending up. He won't go this weekend. He's still part of the return to play format of some running and cutting and where it's at. So improvement, but not there yet.
Now, I did ask Coach Quinn as far as the position groups. I asked him, was there a position group that could benefit the most from playing, obviously, against Detroit? And he said it's not so much the position groups as it is just individual players.
And is there a position group that you feel like going into this game has more to benefit from playing?
I'd say it's probably more by the player than maybe the group. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing some of the receivers. I would like what I saw, with some of the guys in the opening game, like Jay Lane was somebody that in the first game I thought had some nice catches, some nice movements, same with Van. So that would be one. Sometimes it might even be a group that, where are we at with some of the corners that would be playing, later in the game and separating those ones. I don't know if it's necessarily a position group as much as some individual players. And there is, opportunities when guys sit or, aren't playing due to injury. And so the big thing is what are you going to do with that opportunity when it comes? And so I like seeing guys, rise for those moments.
Now, Nick Allegretti, who was just working his way back from a calf strain, did have a slight setback, according to Coach Quinn. So he's going to be out against Detroit. And then there's probably going to be some other guys that did practice today, but they're probably going to be held out. And I don't know if it's more of the veteran thing, but I think for right now, this is a football team that's going to be very cautious in their approach because, remember, coming up next week will be the joint practice against the Baltimore Ravens. And that's where I think you'll get a fair assessment of where this team is and who's available and who's really banged up. We'll know a lot more about that next week. Now, as far as some of the other things that are important to keep an eye on is that a lot of the younger guys are going to have opportunities now to really stake their claim as far as making the final 53-man roster. Naturally, we've talked about as far as Rob Henry Jr. and what he's been doing, and he'll have a chance to further cement his status as potentially the fourth running back on the roster. Jeremy McNichols, as I mentioned earlier, he was out, working his way back, from that hamstring injury that he has, but it doesn't look promising that he's going to be playing against Detroit or maybe in Baltimore. So that opens up, more opportunities for some of these younger guys. So we'll have a lot more to talk about, in the next coming days. Naturally, after the game, we'll let you know who shined, who didn't, where is this team right now? Is there any more people that they're looking at as far as bringing in, as far as free agency? Remember, they brought in several players a couple days ago to go on this roster because of those injuries. But again, I don't want people to worry. Most of these guys, if this was a week one situation, most of these guys would be playing and suited up. So it's nothing catastrophic outside of Johnny Newton, who we did learn had successful surgery on a torn pec, which is going to keep him out for the foreseeable future. But outside of that, I think this team right now is just being cautious as far as not putting guys back out in harm's way. And you're probably going to see guys shut down for the rest of this preseason and get ready for that week one showdown in Philadelphia at the Link to start the season. So once again, here from the Big Bear AI Performance Center for ESPN Radio, I'm NFL insider Lake Lewis Jr.